Hello, and welcome to our Women in Leadership series, Her Story Meets, where we sit down with leaders and we get to discuss their journey, the highs, the lows, and the lessons, and their experience to date. Today, I'm delighted to be joined by Ruby Raut, the founder of Wuka. Hi, Ruby, how are you?
I'm good, Salam. How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you so much for joining us today. It's a pleasure to have you as part of our series.
Thank you. It was my pleasure to be here and tell my story, actually. So, yeah, thank you for inviting me.
We look forward to hearing your story today. So just to start, I always like to have our guests introduce themselves because you know yourself better than anyone else. So yeah, just introduce yourself and briefly share what it is that you do.
Okay. I'm Ruby. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Wuka. I am a Nepali woman. Came here
Hmm.
10 years ago from Nepal, and in the pursuit of like making career, studying here in the UK, and 4 years ago, I started the business called Wuka, which stands for Wake Up Kick Ass, and we
Hmm.
make period underwear that replaces the need for disposable tampons and pads.
Nice, nice. And I feel like it is a very important area that you are a part of changing the narrative, I guess, around menstruation and just restoring kind of women's dignity. So let's just look at that in more detail. Obviously, you mentioned that you're a Nepali woman, you grew up in Nepal, and from what I've read, your experience whilst you was in Nepal has played a role in you establishing your business. So, just share a bit with us briefly about kind of your personal experience and what led to you founding Wuka.
Yeah, I think these days most of the entrepreneur journey starts from adversity. Adversity creates
Yeah.
an opportunity, kind of thing. So yeah, as I said, I was growing in Nepal, born and brought up over there, and at the age of 12, I had my first period. At that time, we used to call it natune, which literally translates to untouchable. So
Wow.
this is a common thing in developing countries like Asia, in India, Bangladesh, Pakistan, Nepal. We're talking about is like when a girl has a period, she is untouchable because she is deemed
Mm.
dirty, and then women as well. So from the onset of your first period up until you are in menopause, for the 4 days of your period, you are not allowed to go in the kitchen, cook,
Wow.
clean, do anything. You are not allowed to serve water by yourself. And I think for me, what got really extreme was like my first period. I actually had to go somewhere else and experience my first
Mm.
period. So it's called banished for bleeding. There is a
Wow.
term called chopadi, which is basically the culture, what the society what does is like when a girl experiences the first period, you have to either go to a menstrual hut or a cowshed to experience your first chopadi because you are deemed, again, as I said, deemed dirty and stuff. um, in far western region it gets much worse because you are literally sitting in this tiny hut that you can barely crawl to, and then you
Mm.
just sit inside there for 4 or 5 days, or you are sent to the cowshed where there are like lots of like cow dungs and stuff, and the infection rate is quite high,
Mm.
especially in this menstrual hut. There's a lot of deaths as well, because the women are trying to keep themselves warm, and then the smoke inhalation and stuff actually kills some of the women. So women are dying because they're on the period. And in this kind of story, you keep on hearing them every like a winter time because it seems to be one of the biggest problem at that kind of time. So for me, I had to go and live with my aunt, and it was exactly the same. It was just a nice house, but my food was passed on the floor. I was not allowed to go out and see any friends, any men, like not allowed to touch the plant. And it was quite extreme version of like experiencing period. Then I came here to UK and it's the opposite. Like you are
Yeah.
allowed to do anything. Um, but there was like a slightly switch of the problems. At Nepal, because you are segregated from the family, everybody knew that you were on your period. and people talked about it, or people didn't attend the ceremony, and then they know, like, okay, she's on the period, that's why. But here, though you can do anything, the topic of
Mm.
period is still very hush hush. Still, like, many times people come to me and like they go like kind of thing, like mouthing.
Yeah.
So I think there is a stigma both in the country, in West and East, but at a different scale and different level. Um, and growing up, I also used sari rags. These are like my mom's old sari, torn and made into pad.
Mm.
Super sustainable because obviously it's been passed down from the
Yeah.
old sari rag to become a menstrual product that will last you for a lifetime. But the biggest problem was they were very uncomfortable. They moved and shift quite a bit. I used to literally pin the pad and wear it, and sometimes the pin used to come undone, and hurt
Oh
you.
gosh.
It's like,
So you must be
and
worried that
yeah,
you're all of a sudden going to start leaking. I'm guessing the
exactly.
fear of that happening.
Yeah. And then also when you're doing sports, the pad, because it used to not sit on your underwear properly, they used to literally
Hmm.
fall down, causing
Oh
huge
god.
amount of embarrassment, in front of in the public. And that deters many girls from going to school or continuing the
Hmm.
education and stuff. And I completely missed quite a lot of my education because of that. And similar problem here again in the West, I've started noticing is like girls are missing out on their PEs because they're more conscious about like
Yeah.
people seeing the pad, or just the shame and embarrassment about it is still here. And
Hmm.
this was the reason why I created Wuka. I was like, it's not just my problem, it's the problem all around the world that is happening. And we need to start talking about it. And the day we start talking about it, then something change will happen. And we have seen in these past 5 years, Amika George campaign for free periods got like free menstrual product to all the girls in the UK, and that was a
Yeah.
big milestone.
Hmm. So just kind of going back on your experience, you said obviously it's almost like you're excommunicated. You're put to one side, like you can't be within your community whilst you're on your period, and the experience itself sounds quite traumatic. Um, how have things changed since then in Nepal, and within the culture? Are you starting to now see those shifts in how women are treated, girls and women are treated when they're on their menstrual cycle?
I think internet has done a massive favor in terms of like
Mm.
seeing the cultures across the world. Definitely, there has been a huge shift. So Topadi, especially in the far western part, is illegal since 2005.
Mm.
But in the last 5 years, women have been going and actually breaking the buildings that
Yeah.
was previously made. So that is a shift. But I think it's very hard, especially when the culture is so binded in your roots. You don't dare to say no to what your elder says. And then that is so deep rooted in Asian culture. Like
Mm.
your elders are your god. You almost treat like them, and you wouldn't do anything to upset them. So there is still the whole practice of chopadi. Um, I say chopadi still isn't there in Nepal because even if you go in the city where there are very educated people, they still segregate themselves for 4 days when they are not
Mm.
on period. They won't go to temple. Um, but I think this is the part, like, now if we started educating grandparents and parents to say like it's actually normal, then
Yeah.
hopefully they will pass that, and then we will always listen to the elders. And I think that is definitely one key area that more work can be done, is like educating parents and grandparents
Mm.
to say that it's absolutely normal. There's nothing bad's going to happen if you go to kitchen and make yourself food and eat. um, but there is a huge, I mean, still the whole equality thing is still an issue worldwide, I think so. But we
Yeah.
are moving.
Like.
We are moving.
Mm.
Definitely, we are moving compared to when I grew up now, and I can see my niece and my cousins growing up, and they have grown up in like totally
A lot
different.
more freedom,
Yes, much more freedom.
a lot more liberated. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah, and I think that, like you mentioned, the education piece is extremely key.
yes,
Being able to teach people, and being able to provide that knowledge and understanding, to then be able to, I guess, shift. the cultural mindset. So education is definitely key. But speaking on sort of equality, obviously we know like women's health it's a huge topic at the moment. It's a huge area of concern right now, and as a result we see a lot of women now branching into creating products and services that are more suitable, you know, for women's needs and on a health basis from a more personal level in comparison to, you know, relying so much on commercial products that don't really cater fully sometimes to women's needs when it comes to health. So, you know, through your own product, your one of your aims is to smash taboos. That's what you mentioned. One of your aims is to smash taboos. So, talk to us a bit about the issues with equality. What issues of equality you've identified with women, and how your product is helping to really sort of dignify women and put their health needs at the forefront.
Brilliant question. And it's so great to see so many people actually, especially women, are looking at that niche area where they have not been served before in creating amazing products.
Mm,
Wuka stands for Wake Up Kick Ass. And we
yeah.
have this name since the very beginning because there are so many negative connotation around period, from like stigma, taboos, to like physical pain and stuff. But nothing has stopped us from doing what we do, right?
Yeah.
So it's all about empowerment. And if there are like brands like ours that actually inspires you to do something, that's what we are for, and that's what we created. But also, in last past 50 years, if you see, there has been a very little innovation in menstrual product industry.
Mm-hmm.
In the name of innovation, I think all they did was like create that wings and strings and sticky pads, and that's it. We have
Yeah.
been using the same product over and over again, and most often like engineered by men. And then always like,
Mm,
and then too much commercials about like, oh, you only have to use this or this, and then that's it. For
yeah.
us, it was all about choice. How can we bring choice? And since the day one, something that we really value at Wuka is our three brand pillars, and that's like sustainability, body positivity,
Mm,
and smashing taboos like social equality.
yeah.
And when we have identified since the very beginning, so creating a product that goes from size 2XS all the way to 6XL, which we do at the moment. And those are like the key things that we have identified. And you know equality is all about choice, and people, I believe that definitely putting a choice in front of the people is the way forward to go.
Mm-hmm.
um
Uh,
yes, go ahead.
yeah. Sorry, I was just going to say that you mentioned something interesting about a lot of the products. You know, they're not being much development in terms of the products that are available to women in terms of, you know, the menstrual products. And I think a key thing is comfortability. And it's interesting that you mentioned that a lot of the people behind the commercial products tend to be men. And you know, they're not well positioned to understand necessarily what woman's need is, what
Yeah.
she needs during that period of time. So how has it been for you setting up your business and coming into a space which has been male dominated? Like, how have you dealt with that? How have you been received in this kind of space?
It's very hard,
Mm,
especially when you're a startup. You are at a small scaling up that way, and
mm,
you're our biggest enemies are like PNG, the big giants who create huge amount of waste. Basically, that's what they are doing. It's just like
mm,
in the name of making money. So how the hierarchies work is like profit, people, and then planet. But we work the
mm,
reverse way. We put the planet first, and then the people, and then profit.
yeah.
So it is tricky. I have been into quite a lot of like investors' room. Uh,
Mhm,
Maybe in 60 people, there are 58 men and two women, in that kind of scenario. And then
mm,
the first conversation that we have is like, oh, what do you do? Kind of thing. So, obviously, being in a brown girl in a room, they really don't believe in you,
mm,
um, I have I have been into many meetings and I say like, oh yeah, I developed a period underwear that replaces the need for tampons and pads. The first thing they go like, wouldn't be this great for a developing country? You know, that like
Mm,
patronizing way, like these are only the solution for like developing countries and not the problem of West.
yeah.
Or the I have heard men do like la 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 and walked out. I don't want to hear about
Wow.
periods kind of thing. So it is a difficult market, definitely. And I don't want them to get it, My main customer, my main people are women.
Right.
If I
Yeah.
hear them and if they say like, okay, this is amazing, changed my life, that's
Work to
enough for
me.
me.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, I guess there is a fight definitely, but I think my
Hmm.
main customer are women, and I just listen to them, what they have to
Yeah.
say, their need.
Yeah. And I think that that's the key thing, especially with businesses that are creating social impact. The whole purpose is to deal with social issues, and this is a big societal issue. Um, the main focus is obviously, yes, to make sure that it's catering to the needs of the people who need it,
Yes.
and then everything else falling into place, um, in a sense.
Yeah, and I think we launched last year in Sainsbury's in
Hmm.
214 stores, and I think that was like a milestone for me because you are literally sitting next to those disposable giants, and then it's like,
Yeah.
okay, this is the first step, we are coming, we are
Hmm.
disrupting, we are innovators.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
change is happening, definitely, I believe.
Hmm. Yeah. I think social disruption is a huge thing at the moment, and so many women I think are leading that charge, are leading that disruption,
Yes.
and taking on that challenge, which is amazing to see. Yeah, so just moving on, thinking about what you do, and then also kind of the correlation with, thinking about sustainable development goals. I know it speaks about, one of the goals speaks about attaining good health, and well-being. Now, although menstruation health is not explicitly mentioned, it does kind of fit into that if we're thinking, it's something that's a reoccurring thing for women. And it's important, obviously, for them to have good health and well-being, throughout their cycle. From your own experience, is there enough resources going into tackling this big global issue? Because it is a huge global issue.
Yeah.
And what is the long-term impact of not tackling this? If we're thinking in the wider sense about, being able to meet these sustainable development goals.
Menstrual health and the menstrual hygiene kind of industry was mostly previously just targeted to developing countries. But last few years, we have seen the huge issue around period poverty in the UK,
Hmm.
and that has just opened eye at a different level that people don't have enough money even to buy a pound or £2 menstrual product, and they are choosing between the food to put the food in the table versus menstrual product.
Hmm.
It is a massive issue, and then this goes in every country, all around the world. So I don't think we have done enough. I mean, what we have done in the UK with the £21 million fund is we just put a
Hmm.
band-aid on the issue. The girls are given disposable menstrual product for 3 years. What are they going to do for the rest of the years? What are
Right.
the other young girls who are coming towards the puberty and having a period for the first time going to do after that 3 years period runs out, right?
Hmm.
So I think to get us to the stage of like to meet the needs of the girls and the women, you have to take a sustainable approach. So either creating the whole scheme to provide sustainable menstrual product, so girls are introduced to reusable menstrual product that can last them for years to come,
Hmm.
or train them. Like it's not that difficult to make your own menstrual pad, and there are like so many kits and resources. It's making them resilient to situation like that. If any time comes, actually I have got pads in there which I can use it and
Yeah.
not rely on something else. And then the government should think that way and not put a band-aid on the problem, but more
Hmm.
create a solution around it. And this has been done in quite a few African countries, and even in Asia, where a group of women in a village are empowered and they're given a
Yeah.
sewing machine, and they make the pad and resell within the society and this is the way to go. If we wanted to
Hmm.
see this equality in a sustainable way, sustainable product is the way to go.
Hmm.
In every level, I would say, and definitely there's a lot more to do. The whole issue around period also lies on having a toilet facilities, especially in
Hmm.
developing countries. This is one of the biggest problem in there is they don't have changing room more than
Yeah.
anything else. When I grew up, we used to have a communal toilet. So basically, it used to be a canal, and you just squat down and wee on there. And if somebody has a period at that time, you can see like trail of blood running through, and then that canal was attached to the boys' canal.
Yeah.
you know it's like another mortifying situation. Like, why on earth would you do that? Um, so having a toilet facilities, sustainable menstrual product is and education, definitely, like educating girls not to be
Mm.
embarrassed. Co-education of boys and girls in the same class talking about period actually makes the boy more empathetic growing up. you know
Yeah.
and then there's no embarrassment and shame around period, as they are going to either buying menstrual product for their girlfriends or wife or friend, which
Mm.
still exists, right? So that should
Yeah.
go away. And once we bring that embarrassment down, and then definitely the taboo and stigma will just definitely disappear. But yeah, there are like steps I think we need to take, definitely more.
Yeah. You mentioned a lot of key things, and just goes to show you how big this issue
Yeah,
is.
yeah,
And even if you think about like girls' education, that's one of the, well, it's part of sustainable development goals. And being able for them being able to study regularly,
yeah,
not having to miss school and all those things. So we're seeing that it kind of interweaves into so many different parts of the sustainable development goals. So yes, it is really key that we do look at the different variables, the different things that impact
yeah.
overall being able to accomplish this.
Yeah, we don't notice because if the girl doesn't go to school, maybe even 3 days every
Mm.
month, right? That's 36 days that she's missing.
Yeah.
And that's how they fall behind. Had that
Hmm.
36 days been improved, that's almost a month of education being missed out,
Yeah.
kind of thing, and trying to catch up everything. And it takes a lot of toll. And yeah,
Mm.
definitely providing with toilet facilities, reliable menstrual product, definitely can, these two just steps can improve girls' education much better.
Hmm. Hmm. And just going back to kind of the whole, thinking about period poverty. So obviously a lot of emphasis is being placed on sustainability at the moment. Sustainability is just it's a massive issue in every context, in every sort of sector, industry, at the moment, and everyone's looking to be a lot more sustainable. And thinking about sort of menstrual products, we know a handful of them are harmful to the environment. They're not good for our environment. But there is also this kind of belief that being sustainable is expensive. I think more so probably in the Western society, when we think about sustainability, we do sometimes, attach, it does seem to attach with a large cost. So how do we kind of remove the barrier of sustainability for women, especially, for those who do experience period poverty? Yes, they want to buy these period pads, but it's sometimes expensive. They might find it expensive and they might not have the money for that. So how do we remove that kind of barrier for them?
Yeah, I think the question here is for me to ask is like, what is the cost of the world, right? Cost of our planet.
Mm.
Oh, is that £2 less or £2 more, kind of thing?
Mm.
And yes, sustainable product does come with a higher price tag. And we addressed this, I think, in our second year, because one of the reasons that nobody would try period pants is because it's too higher risk upfront cost. In a way, yes, we are trying to change habit of people who have been using pads and tampons for 20 years, right? So for them to
Mm.
make that switch to something like slightly expensive and you only get one, kind of thing, it was quite tricky. Understanding that, we launched last year our basics range, which starts at £12, and we did like a cost comparison in terms of like, should you buy pads and tampons from the supermarket versus period pants. If you buy just 5 pair of underwear, that will last you for 2 years, and you will only
Mhm.
spend like about £50, compared to if you go for the traditional pads and tampons, which might cost you £2 each,
Yeah.
right? That was £48 a year. So already you are getting a free year's worth of product just by switching to reusable. And
Mm.
also, when you talk about the carbon footprint of these products, period pants have got 20% carbon footprint, whereas like
Yeah.
80% more carbon footprint. Pads and tampons has got 80% carbon footprint more than period pants. So you can see, like, you're not just doing the good for the money, but also the planet. And as I said, like, we are a business who put planet first, because
Mhm.
we are tackling the big disposable giants, which creates 4.3 million tampons and pads going to landfill every year in the UK, right?
Mm.
So that's a huge amount of waste going to. So I guess the question comes is like, should you want to invest upfront and have a reliable product, or do you want to continuously go to a shop and keep on buying the disposable product that can create a huge amount of waste? Um, on a long run, definitely sustainable products are much more cost effective than using a disposable product, and also better for planet. So we did address that, and that was like the biggest thing for us, because since then, like, we there are more people who are willing to come and try. We also, as a brand, do promotion with purpose. So
Mhm.
we do Earth Day, Earth Hour kind of promotion, where every year during Earth Hour between the 8:30 to 9:30 we do 50% off, or we give a free product when you buy something. So this, like, creates an opportunity for people who have never thought of trying period pants as an opportunity. Actually, like, for like, maybe if it is 50% off, that's like £6. I can get a pair of pants for £6 and actually try it. And these pants
Mm.
are like always in your drawer, whenever you need it. So whenever you run out of anything, you can just reach to your drawer and wear it and take it on a holiday. So there are loads of positive benefit to using reusable and sustainable menstrual product compared to disposable.
Yeah. No, definitely. And I think anything that can help improve our environment is always a good.
Yes.
Is always a good thing.
We
Definitely.
have to put our planet first now. Given
Yeah.
given the situation that we are in, there's, every company, every business should put planet first,
Mhm.
because with everybody collective, then we're going to make some kind of change and shift, and make a better place for our future generation to come and live.
Exactly. Definitely. Oh, well, this has been an amazing conversation. Thank you so much for joining us, Ruby. Um, what is it that you have going on at the moment? Like, what are you working on? Like, you're covering so much with your products. What's next for you?
So what's next? Something that I'm super excited about was, so I think I didn't address the problem that we have got at the moment. So period pants are currently taxed at 20%, compared
Mm.
to your other menstrual product are taxed at 0% since January this year, because the government doesn't see period pants as a menstrual product, where it says in the name it's period product, but period pants. Um, so we are actually fighting that tax, and we got a good traction and moved up quite up the chain, and had a conversation with the MP and treasuries and stuff, with full support of Chella Quint, Ella Dash. They are like a menstrual campaigner, um, but the decision is they are not budging it. So we are taking a next step and bringing in youth, schools, children's from schools, trying to campaign this project. So next month we are doing a partnership with Surfers Against Sewage, and they have got a plastic free school as a coalition body, where there are 3,000 schools participating on this competition to get the Green Award, because it's all about activism. It's all about how can we make a world a better place, and try and reduce the amount of plastic consumption. So I'm quite excited about that, and I think we will reignite the whole campaign about period pants tax again. So I'm super excited about that. In my heart, I'm a massive campaigner, and I love working for something that is injustice, inequality kind of thing, and put myself forward. So that is on the pipeline. And if you have got any schools that you would like to take part, you can just sign up to Plastic Free School, and then the more school, the better. The more voices, the better. And I hope the government listens to the younger generation. It's because it's their world, it's their future. So
Definitely.
very excited about that.
Yeah, it does sound very exciting. And just on that note, like, where can people follow you? Where can people find out more about what you do? If they should want to get involved, yeah, just tell us where we can find you.
So we are at Wuka everywhere in social media. So either in Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn. So at WUKA WEAR. And obviously our website is wuka.co.uk. So that's WUKA.co.uk.
Great, thank you. I will make sure that I leave all that information in the description section. So if anyone would like to find out more about your product and what it is that you do, then yep, they can go and follow you. But once again, thank you, Ruby, so much for joining us today. I really enjoyed our conversation. It has been a real sort of eye-opener for me. Definitely an important conversation. And yes, I wish you all the best sort of moving forward with your projects, anything that you're working on. And I really hope that you can continue to sort of break those social barriers and the stigmatization that we have, so that, women can obviously live more liberated, more freely, because all those things are important, I believe, for our society. For anyone who will be tuning in to this conversation, please also make sure that you head over to www.herstorymatters.com and go and subscribe to our newsletter, so that you can find out more about what it is that we're doing and digest our content, and also make sure that you donate as well on our website. We're always doing work with women. We're always trying to have social impact and trying to help women and support causes for women. So please go ahead and donate if you're also passionate about supporting women as well. But once again, Ruby, thank you so much for your time. I really enjoyed our conversation. And yeah, I hope we can have another conversation at some point.
Absolutely.
To follow up on how things are going.
Thank you. And I think creating a platform like this gives a voice for us, but also opens that conversation that we maybe might not often talk about it, And so I guess my one request to everybody is, like, go home and talk about periods with your family. The more we talk about it, the normal it gets, and it just becomes part of your life. So yes, thank you again, once again, and all the best.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye.